Hello everyone, this is RadTechShoe and I am bringing you my latest rad review of the game Tales of Zestiria. Tales of Zestiria was released on the PS4 and it's kind of an interesting title. It wasn't all that amazing. I finally finished it not too long ago and I had to, put all the clips together and stuff like that. And I'm bringing you a much shorter rad review. I had to keep this one smaller because my last rad review was so gigantic, so I decided to keep this one well under 25 minutes, and I did manage to achieve my goal on that. But this game, sad to say, it was just not that great. I'm not saying it was a terrible game, I'm not saying it was bad, I'm not saying it was horribly rewritten and I did not like it. It's just I didn't love it, and there's no real aspect about this game that made me want to fall in love with it or made me want to continue talking about it. This is not one of those games where you tell people, oh man, you gotta go play this game, this is awesome. The story is fairly straightforward and nothing too amazing or epic. It does seem intense, but it's really, it's your average run-of-the-mill action adventure. The music is not all that great either. The combat system is confusing and a little unforgiving for beginners. The bonus content is rather interesting, and there's one very fun bonus content. However, there's another aspect of bonus content which really irritated me, and we'll get to that soon enough. But this game had some decent features to it. However, it had nothing amazing or grand or outstanding, nothing that I can, brag about or say that this game did amazingly well. It did everything kind of meh. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to go through it in traditional rad review style. We're going to go through 5 categories: story, combat, audio and visual, additional mechanics, and then bonus content. I'm going to be grading them all 1 to 5 with an overall score out of 25. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. Strap yourselves in, buckle up, grab a snack and a drink, and let's get ready for my rad review of Tales of Zestiria. The story follows the adventures of Saray. He's a regular human living amongst seraphim, which are pretty much like superhumans, and they can't be perceived by normal humans. But since Saray was raised by them, all his life he can perceive them. He becomes what is known as the Shepherd. The Shepherd is this powerful human that has the ability to fight against the malevolence, which is pretty much their term of evil. Along the way, Saray will acquire many seraphs, force particularly, one of each element: earth, fire, wind, and water. The goal of these guys is to travel together and pretty much cleanse the planet of all malevolence and fight against the Lord of Calamity. The Lord of Calamity, who also goes by the name of Heldolf, is pretty much he's the final boss, and he's pretty much the source of all the malevolence and evil in the world, and it's up to Saray, the current shepherd, to cleanse the malevolence and to save the world, and that's really all it is. It's pretty much go from territory to territory, acquire new powers and stuff like that, upgrade to become strong enough to defeat Heldolf, and once you defeat Heldolf, you win the game, and that's it. Along the way, you're going to find what is known as Earth and Historias. These are little gems that actually give you a glimpse into the past and let you look at Heldolf as he was a human before he became the Lord of Calamity, before he was corrupted by all this malevolence, and it lets you look at him and figure out how he became the Lord of Calamity. And it's actually a little upsetting. Spoiler alert, it's actually one of the previous shepherds that pretty much condemns him to his fate by cursing him and just forcing all the malevolence in the world to flow into Heldolf when he was a human. So Heldolf actually became the Lord of Calamity against his own will, and now he just wants to corrupt the entire world and bring nothing but chaos and disorder into the world, and it's up to Saray and the gang to stop him. The final boss is pretty fun. It's a little difficult. At one point he's about to unleash pretty much his Giga attack that instantly kills everyone. What you have to do is you have to hit him with enough damage and stagger him, and when you do actually stagger him, you get to unleash this super ability at the cost of each one of your seraphim leaving you for good. You're able to inflict massive damage on him. So the boss battle at the very end, every time you use your gun and pretty much blast Heldolf, you lose one of your seraphim each time, so you have to move them around and stuff, and it's pretty interesting. It adds a little gimmick to it because you have to plan ahead and figure out who you want to save for last. But it's a pretty fun boss battle, and the end is a little disappointing. It's not a conclusive ending, not in my opinion, but it is rather fun. So we're gonna give the story an overall 3 out of 5. I don't think it's all that great. It's nothing original or new. You know, just pretty much your country bumpkin, average, you know, Joe Schmo becomes a hero and stops the bad guy from wanting to corrupt and destroy the world. So it gets a 3 out of 5 for story. And now we're going to move into the combat mechanics of this game. So the combat system is a little confusing. There are several different types of abilities. So you're roaming around. As soon as you run into an enemy, that's how you initiate battle and the fight begins. Circle is your basic ability. You're going to be doing that a lot. Circle is pretty much just melee abilities with elemental augmentations, such as, you know, slashes that do earth, wind, fire, and water damage. And there are some that are neutral and have no elemental affliction whatsoever. X pretty much gives you magical abilities, and it's a lot of them do involve using your sword, so it can be kind of confusing to differentiate between your circle and your X in terms of like what they're doing. But X is pretty much also able to deal damage based on certain enemy types like flying or beasts or whatnot. So, and when you tap L1, you can armatize with your Seraphim, and then you go and you can unleash your third basic attacks, which is pretty much just seraphic arts. And pretty much all this, that's all it is not really anything unique. It can be a little confusing, but once you get it down, you're going to be repeating the same patterns over and over, and it's nothing too special or fancy. You can also open up the menu to use health items, as with any RPG. You know, I can't think of an RPG where you're not able to use items in mid-battle. That would be really, really stupid, especially since some of the battles in this game can be pretty tough. So armatizing with your Seraphim is fairly useful. Not only does it give you a decent power-up, but it is also a great way to save yourself. If you're about to die, you can tap L1, armatize, and as long as you have the ability to armatize, because, you know, it's dependent upon how many slots you have in the lower left-hand corner. As you see, some people have 0, some people have 4, some people have 1 or 2. As long as you and the Seraphim you are partnered with have at least 1 apiece, you can armatize together. So if you die, you can quickly armatize right as you die, and you will, you know, and then you will save yourself, and then you can quickly tap L1 again to de-armatize, go back to normal, and you can continue the fight. And I found that a very effective strategy in dealing with tough bosses is to only armatize pretty much as a defensive maneuver. I only armatize defensively, or right here if I'm able to pretty much stun lock my opponents, which doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's very useful. And then, you know, you just gotta pick your spots, pick your combos. There's no real way, guaranteed way to beat your enemies. Some of the bosses are extremely tough, but the combat system is a little confusing. It's not simplified. I swear sometimes I'm pushing forward in circle and it'll do like left circle or right circle. So it feels a little unresponsive. I'm not sure if it's my controller or if it's the game itself, but the combat system can be a little confusing at first, and it's not beginner friendly. I'm not gonna lie. If this is your first RPG, you're definitely going to struggle, you know, getting a firm grasp on this, at least in my opinion. So the combat system is going to get a basic 3 out of 5, not for being, it has a lot of aspects to it, but it's confusing, it's not all that beginner friendly, and it's not extremely well laid out. You have to do a lot of reading and experimenting in battle, which is not fun. So I'm only going to give this a 3 out of 5, and now we're going to move on to the visual and audio aspects of this game. When it comes to the characters in the game, it's not really all that impressive. It's nothing outside of what I would expect from a game from the Tales franchise. The characters are kind of cartoony in appearance and behavior, so it's nothing too outstanding there. Some of the worlds you explore are rather different, and you go from like a wetlands, in a marsh, to a desert, to an urban city. So really this is not that much of a different type of a world. There's a variety of landscapes and caves and other places you can explore. And the map's design is rather awkward at times, like it feels like some areas aren't finished, but overall this place is rather visually pleasing, and I definitely give mad props to the game in terms of its visual aspect for the maps and the locations that you go to. These places seem rather nice and detailed, and it is rather interesting and fun to go to random places and just have a look around. Now for anime cutscenes. There aren't that many, but when they do pop up, they are done with excellent detail. I really did like every single anime cutscene. that I saw. They were all done with good detail, good levels of effort were put into these cutscenes, and I was very, very happy with how they all presented themselves in this game. So the anime cutscenes were great. Now when it comes to music, things start to fall off a little bit. There is some decent music in this game, but it's in cutscenes like this that are more plot driven. There's no action or battle themes, and when you go to certain maps and locations, the music doesn't really seem to grab you as much as you want. Most RPGs that I play usually have good music. This game had rather a forgettable soundtrack, I'm not gonna lie. Only a few songs stuck with me, but this soundtrack and this game had nothing on it that I would want to download to my computer or put it on my iPod or anything like that. This game was pretty lackluster when it came to its soundtrack. I was thoroughly disappointed with that, and that's going to hurt its overall score, because the overall score for the audio and visual is just going to be a 3 out of 5. The graphics are good, the anime cutscenes were amazing, but the lackluster soundtrack brought this score down. It would have been a 4 if the soundtrack were a little bit better. However, it wasn't up to snuff in my opinion, and I can't give it anything higher than a 3. So now we're going to move on to some of the additional mechanics of the game. Now for the additional mechanics, there's not that much in terms of like something new. It's pretty much your standard, additional equipment and setups for RPGs. But right here you've got the items menu. You can look at all the items, equipment that you can equip to other characters, and special items that you can use to recover health or permanently increase stats. Nothing special there. Arts is when you look at all the attacks that each character can do, and you just choose what, you learn how to do them and stuff like that. It's not really all that special. Equipment is very, very good though. This has a lot of, importance to it, because not only does the equipment get stronger, but it also has special abilities. These abilities augment, for instance, a piece of armor can have increased attack, increased defense, art defense, and if you line them all up, and if you look down on the bottom right, you'll see a bonus skill. These are in conjunction with all the regular base skills like increased attack or increased defense. So if you line them all up next to each other or in a row vertically or one on top of the other, you get bonus augmentations for your characters permanently, so long as they have that piece of equipment equipped. Very useful. I highly recommend you take advantage of it. Next over here is support talents. This is really kind of iffy. I don't use it all that much. Support talents, just don't really have much of a place in this game. However, there is one ability which is, I believe, you use, you pretty much run, wind stepping. You just run faster in the open world. That's the most useful one. Support talents are pretty much automatic abilities or certain abilities depending upon the AP you have. As you can see, I've got 189 AP possible, and I've got 181 that I'm currently using. Some of them you have to unlock before you can use, which is a pain in the ass. Here we've got basic, regular accessories and stuff like that. They're pointless. They're not used for combat. They're just there to make your characters look goofy. So you can give them bunny ears, halos, devil wings, or you can completely change their outfit entirely in terms of their color, or DLC outfits as well. This is where you'll make all of those changes if you have additional outfits and items. Over here we've also got the strategy. I did not mess with this at all. I don't remember using this at all. It's really unnecessary and not important. It's irrelevant in my opinion. Your characters, when you're not in control of them, they usually behave reasonably well and efficiently in combat, so you don't have to worry about that. And over here you can look at your library and go through all the information regarding yourselves or enemies, and then you have your basic options here to adjust the difficulty, adjust camera angles, how much do you want the, camera to swing left and right, up or down, adjust the volume of the game. It's fairly simple and fairly straightforward. Another convenient mechanic in the game is your partner. If you're roaming around outside of battle, you can talk to your partner to figure out what certain quests and side quests you haven't completed, how far along you are, and if you speak to either Rose or Alicia, whichever one it is, they'll speak to you and they'll give you hints on where you need to go and what you need to do. Now, over here, we're going to go through the shot mechanic. Now, the shot mechanic in Tales of Zestiria is a little different than it was in Tales of Xillia. This is a bit of the same thing, but it doesn't feel nearly as in-depth. But pretty much you buy equipment, it increases your customer ranking up in the top left corner. You see I've got 3 out of 5 stars. The more stars you unlock, the more equipment you get. However, you're not able, as far as I know, to donate materials. You know, I was not able to donate anything, you know, material-wise, but you can, you know, sell items, you can, you know, fuse stuff. Now, fusing is how you increase weapons. As you notice, some of my swords have a +1 or a +2 next to them. That means they've been increased. So all you have to do is equip a weapon that you want to keep, equip a weapon you know, and then use one that you're willing to sacrifice, and bam, you increase it. And it becomes a little bit stronger stat-wise. However, some of its special augmentations and abilities will be replaced or sealed, and you'll lose them forever. So just be wary of what you're doing and what you're fusing and what you're eventually going to get. It'll tell you what you're going to get, but you need to be wary of that. Last up for the additional mechanics is the Lord of the Land. The Lord of the Land has several features. The most important feature is the fast travel. The ability to talk to him and to pretty much go wherever you want, wherever you've already been, and you can do this at the Lord of the Land or at any other various save point. You can, as long as there's a spot where you can save, you can travel to cities, dungeons, and anywhere you've already been that has a save point. Fairly useful. Setting boons and setting Norman and increasing the Lord of the Land's ranking does not help you really at all with the game. They're negligible effects, so I'm not even going to go over them. I'm just going to show them on screen. But overall, I'm going to give the additional mechanics a ranking of 4 out of 5. There's a lot here, and some of it is a little unnecessary and irrelevant, as with most RPGs. However, there was enough here to satisfy my thirst and to pretty much not make me feel like it was lacking too bad in any other way. I just wish that the Lord of the Land had more details and features to it, and that it was more in-depth, and I wish the shop mechanic allowed me to donate raw materials, but there are no real raw materials to pick up when you beat enemies. So overall, it gets a 4 out of 5, and now we're going to pretty much end this additional mechanics, and we're going to move on to the last section, which is bonus content. Alright, and now it is time for bonus content. So in the PlayStation Store, you can go in and look at all the bonus content. You can buy the game itself, or you can look at all the stuff. Mostly it's a bunch of superficial stuff like free costumes, you know, and skins and stuff like that. That was free. I never downloaded it because I didn't really feel the need to it. Then you get certain items which aren't fully explained what they do and how important they are. And one of the things that caught my eye was the price. That's $11.99, $12 for something I'm not even sure what it's going to do. This one's $9.99. The attachments are $4.99. However, there is one part right here, the bonus chapter. Pretty much it takes place after the main storyline, and you figure out what happens to Alicia. I have not done that. It's $10. If it was cheaper, I might get it. If it was like $3 or $4, I'd get it. But $10, I don't feel like spending it. Then you got costumes right here. And, you know, the boys' school costume. However, this one that I'm currently on is amazing. It looks so much fun. It's the Evangelion costume set. What it is you know, the Sarai dresses like Shinji, and then you've got the costumes of Misato, you know, and you know, it's so much fun. It looks so fun. I was an Evangelion fan a long time ago in the past, but you've got pretty much, you know, Sarai, Alicia, Lila, Edna, and Rose all dressed up like characters from Evangelion, you know. So that made me laugh the first time I saw it. I couldn't believe it. It was so much fun looking. I wanted to get it, but it's $10, and like I said, I just don't want to spend that much money on bonus content like that. And, you know, I've got the free skits pack. It really didn't do much of anything. Free starter pack, you know, blah, 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 blah. But down here, you've got school costume set. You can get the entire school costume set for males and females for a bundle pack. Same thing with the swimsuit edition. You can get all the swimsuits for all males and females for a bundle set right there. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And then all the way down at the very bottom, we have the Idolmaster costume set, which is pretty much all the female characters, Rose, Lila, Edna, and Alicia, all dressed up, you know, as Japanese pop idols. It's not much, but it's something. But like I said, I didn't really feel the DLC, you know, there was some bonus content, but I couldn't feel it. I just could not get into the bonus content, so it was a little disappointing there. Last up for bonus content is what happens when you start a new game after you beat it. the first time. You obviously see the New Game Plus, which implies that you would be able to carry over all of your save data from the last game, and you'd pretty much start off a new game as a super uber powerful badass that can wipe out anything in your way early on in the game. Well, Tales of Zestiria throws you a curveball. When you go to hit a New Game Plus and want to carry over your save data from the previous file, it throws you a curveball by saying, okay, you can only carry over certain things based on your blessing levels. So I did not know this when I was playing through the first time, so my blessing levels were rather pathetic and abysmal in certain areas, so I got only 600 points, and this crippled my desire to play the game again, and this is ultimately going to cripple the score. It's going to get a 3 out of 5 for bonus content. I wish I could give it a 4, but this was too much of a negative to go overlooked, and I just could not do it. So that's going to do it for the bonus content section of this game. So that's going to do it for my rad review of Tales of Zestiria. Overall, it gets a final ranking of 16 out of 25. This game was, sad to say, it was very average. It was lackluster in a lot of areas. I'm not going to say it was essentially bad or terrible, one of the worst games I've ever played. It's just nothing really gripped me good. The music didn't grip me. The combat system wasn't all that great. The story was unoriginal and kind of boring. The characters weren't all that special either. I just really could not get into this game. It took me a while to beat it because I kind of fell in and out of it. So ultimately, this game's biggest flaw is that it's intensely average. So it gets a 16 out of 25. I'm going to recommend that people just kind of pass this up. If you're looking for RPGs, there are definitely better ones out there. So I'm sorry if this offends anyone, but this is my opinion on Tales of Zestiria. I stand by it. I played through it. I just could not get into it. And I'm going to move on to bigger and better things now. And that's going to do it for my rad review of Tales of Zestiria. I hope you all enjoyed this. I hope you all found it interesting and informative. If you did, please don't forget to like, favorite, subscribe, comment down below. Follow me on Twitch and Twitter for more updates. And I will see you guys all later. Thank you once again for joining me. This is RadTech Shu signing off.